All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220. And you can listen to us streaming around the world at www.classic1220.ca. All right, here's the story, X Zone Nation. Our guest wants us to use his pseudonym, which is us, U.S. All right, so we're not
all of us.
All of us. All of us, all of you. It's going to be
Can
an
I
interesting...
describe why?
Well, if you give me a chance to do my job, yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. I love enthusiasm. The name, like I said, X Zone Nation, all of us, according to our guest, is his pseudonym. And his website is, are you ready for this, X Zone Nation? ConsciousConsumers.net. Joining us now from someplace in the United States is us. And us, welcome to the X Zone.
Great to be back.
Tell us why you're called us and why you don't use your real name.
Well, it's mostly for paranormal reasons. While I was clinically dead during surgery for a burst brain aneurysm, that moment of intensity where I felt like I was met with an omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent presence was indescribable, but I also felt like when I came back into my bodily form in the material realm, that I had received what were downloads from what has been traditionally called the Akashic Records, the Oversoul, the place where I believe all human souls that have existed or ever will exist meet. So I started that website that you just gave out to try to deliver that message about how the intensity of the truth of death is ever present for all of us. But our soul, that immaterial thing that is like behind my voice, your voice, everyone's voice, seems increasingly under attack by the cancel culture that wants to label you, that wants to attack you in the physical. But I think the reason for that attack is purely to gain control of people, and there seems to be an attack on freedom of speech, which is freedom of thought, so we now live in that world of thought crime. So I feel like if I can get away from attachment to my personal name, my personal being, I can maybe relay my points about what we're here on Earth to do in a better way.
But let me ask you this. Isn't it possible that people may see you wanting to hide your real name takes away from any credibility that you may be trying to gain?
Actually, I never even thought about that.
Because they might say, well, listen, this guy doesn't want to use his real name, so how do we know anything that he's saying is truthful, that he doesn't want to attach his real name to it? You know, I don't know. This kind of raises that kind of question with me.
Yeah, and yeah, I could be attacked in that way. But I've discovered from like undertaking this desire to remove myself from my name, because I publish a website. It's not hard for anyone with internet knowledge to figure out, you know, what my real name is. So I've discovered that it's very difficult to make yourself an anonymous person in this world.
But why would anybody want to be
Well, I'm trying to pre-cancel myself, because I'm going to do a show called Dead Man Talking, which is attached to my forthcoming novel, where I'm going to speak about everyday news, philosophy, psychology, from the point of view of a person who's been met with the ultimate reality of death. But that's in a world that seems increasingly want to go towards postmodernism, the denial of any absolute truth.
But in today's society, why would anybody want to become anonymous? Like, you are who you are. You really can't get away from your real identity, so why try?
Well, in the past, it used to be called a paranoid when you wanted to do that. And I look at it more as I'm pronoid. I'm just trying to avoid the cancel culture. I'm pre-canceling myself.
So why would somebody want to listen to somebody who wants to cancel themselves out?
Just cancel any attachment to really name and address, because there's people with huge internet shows that have been doxxed in my country, and they get swatted and things like that. So really, it's just to be anonymous from my name and address, because I do my show from my home.
Right.
I don't even think anything I'm going to say is going to be. It's just that everyone is so offended these days by really anything. Like, my views are classically liberal, but you can't even discuss reasonable things, it seems, these days without being attacked by the woke mob.
Well, that's the difference between an internet show and what we call real radio here. For example, we've got rules and regulations that we have to follow here in Canada under the CRTC, and broadcasting into the States, we have to follow FCC rules and regulations. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Do you?
I don't. It's really the big tech, Silicon Valley censors, because I've had friends of mine canceled just for talking about things that you wouldn't think would be offensive just a few years ago. And I'm not planning. I don't think anything I'm going to talk about on my show could be offensive, but there's anger addicts out there, it seems, that want to find a reason to make an issue out of anything. So I'm just trying to avoid all that trouble, but also for the paranormal reason of the protagonist in my book, who is a sort of a soul collider, particle collider. He is a downloader of the souls of history to carry out his mission of fighting the war on war. When I came back from being dead and was embodied again, I wasn't supposed to be anything more than a vegetable.
Well, why don't you tell us about your near-death experience? How did you die?
I had a burst brain aneurysm, so during a craniotomy, I was brain dead on the table. They told my father I had a less than 2% chance of survival, and if I did, I'd probably be what's commonly called a vegetable, meaning
right.
I would be full life support. So they had to get his permission to operate. And I'm conscious while this is all going on. I'm conscious to the world. I'm on life support machines, but I'm aware. So I'm watching myself being operated upon, watching the doctors get my cell phone out, get my father's number from my girlfriend, and tell him, we need your permission to operate, but we have your son here, and he has a burst brain aneurysm. We have to cut his head open. And in my mind, I'm screaming, no, don't tell him no, Dad. But he said, of course, yes, and here I am. But during that time, like I said, I feel like I was met with the intensity of all the souls that have ever existed and what our mission is here in this earth realm. So my website is very environmentalist before environmentalism became a thing.
Got you. Okay, so what happens to us when we die,
Well, for me, I was studying to be a psychiatrist when I was underground. I have a Bachelor of Psychology. I was studying to be a psychiatrist at first, but then I switched to psychology because through studying pharmacology, I couldn't conscientiously prescribe drugs to people.
Well, to be a psychiatrist, don't you also have to be a doctor first, a medical doctor?
You have to be an N.D.E, yes.
Yeah.
So I was pre-med, but I decided I wanted to know the nature of consciousness. I didn't want to become a druggist.
Okay.
So I switched to psychology, and I have a philosophy minor. And the philosophy minor is the catch. That's where you learn to think about things too much.
So here you are, you're dead. did you just have the out-of-body experience where you watched yourself being operated on, or did you actually go to the tunnel and light? Did you have a past
Yeah.
life review? And
That light thing, which I didn't expect that happened. I was leaving my body, going into the light. I call it not a light.
Yeah.
It was the light, and that light seemed to be the source of everything that ever was created, ever will be created. It's hard to describe the infinite with the finite, but that's why I wrote, this 104,000 word novel. I'm using epic poetry to describe the nature of that omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence.
so, as we're crossing the great vast of emptiness to the light, how did you feel?
I felt at peace. I wanted to keep going there while I was in the process of dying, because having some knowledge of brain anatomy, I knew when I was having the brain bleed that I had very little chance of surviving. So I told my then girlfriend at the time, who I was driving to her house to pick her up, to leave. I went outside. I told her I had a headache. I wanted to die under a tree in nature. And I told her, I got a headache. I'm just going to sit out here. So she comes out, tries to give me an aspirin, which I knew were blood thinners. So I went to reach up from the ground to grab them. As soon as my hand got halfway across my body, it flopped over, because the right side of my brain was bleeding out. So the left side of my body was shutting down. So then she knew, wait, hey, what's up? We got to get you to a hospital. Dragged me into the car. I'm trying to hold onto the grass with one hand. Drove me to a hospital where they did this emergency brain surgery.
Prior to your brain aneurysm, did you have any interest in the near-death experience, the life after death, the phenomenon, or were you just us?
Not in any particulars, but through the study of philosophy and psychology, you become interested in such things. And also by studying pharmacology, I was looking at how certain psychoactives worked in the brain from the pharmaceuticals. I was like, well, let's look at the nootropics. And you kind of get to study different states of experience that way, which the line between the material, the physical, the spiritual, once you introduce nootropics and things like that, becomes very blurred. So in particular, I wasn't like studying death or anything like that, or death experiences. I was more of I'd say Buddhist when I died than anything, if you had to pick a spirituality.
Right.
But that's not what happened when I died. That particular belief system. I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to get recycled into the Eightfold Path. I'll, be reincarnated as some other form, but that is not what happened.
All right, let's take a commercial break. When we come back, let's get into the details of what did happen. Us is my guest this hour. His website is, are you ready for this, Exonation? ConsciousConsumers.net. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. Now, if you'd like to get the latest edition of the X Chronicles newspaper, Exonation, we've been publishing it since 1990, I think. This is our 34th year publishing it. It's with our compliments, www.xchronicles.net. I'm sorry, xchronicles.net. Craig, you forgot to put the dot there, pal. Let's try that again, www.xchronicles.net. Again, this is the X Zone, and you're listening to us on Hometown Radio, Classic 1220. Don't go away.
Patiently to hold you in my heart. This is what it meant to be. Don't tear us apart.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I'm Rob McConnell coming to you on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. Our guest this hour is us. No, I'm not kidding. Us.
All of us.
All of us. There you go. ConsciousConsumers.net. ConsciousConsumers.net. How did you arrive at that domain name?
Well, I was kind of inspired from my death experience with this kind of life is all one, we are all one consciousness that came from that light. So that website in particular is about like what I think is part of our responsibility while embodied, which is to take care of the earth realm. We have a responsibility to it as a living being in this living realm. So it's really about ecology. But that's very much, I've been doing websites since the birth of the internet. So when you go there, what you're going to see is a very 2004 looking website, which is in journalistic form. So and who has time to read anymore? So I'm going to redesign that as more of an audiovisual interaction with the character in my book, us, which is all of us, because I believe we are all connected at the soul, at spirit level.
Before we went to the break, we were just going to get into the details of your experience when you were dead. And by the way, how long were you clinically dead for?
Just a few minutes, where they went to full, from thinking, well, what happens when you're declared brain dead? It's not, well, they had me on full life support, but the few minutes where they were considering like not going on, well, they had to finish the operation, but it didn't look like I was going to make it. That was only a few minutes, but for me, it felt like eternity. Like I was outside of space-time, looking back.
Really?
Like across the universe at this. I had a full craniotomy, so they peel down the side of your scalp. They cut a hole through your head, and they're like in my brain for several hours trying to stop the bleed. And then they had to peel a huge hematoma off of half of my forebrain. So it felt like an eternity, but in reality it was about 7.5 hours on the table. Now, and then it was days in intensive ICU, and then weeks in hospital recovery, and then months and now years getting full functions of my body back, being able... I'm still half blind, have a pain condition, nerve pain condition, and a few other issues. But as compared to what they thought I would be, which is completely, on life support for the rest of my life, doing pretty good. But I took that experience back into this writing and starting what I called an environmental revolution, REVEL, meaning I was trying to make a fun way to encourage people to do what's right, to be ecologically responsible. But I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. Don't you
think that we should be sociologically responsible before ecologically? Because if we can't take care of each other, we can't take care of this planet.
It's all the same thing.
Well, I think that the number of homeless out there would beg to differ with you. And right now, food banks are experiencing their highest amount of clientele, in 30, 40, 50 years. So I think that if we were to take better care of our fellow humans, then the ecology would be a natural process of that.
Yeah, but our current divide and conquer political sphere doesn't seem to want to do that. They have the Malthusian view that there's not enough, like the current environmental movement has been hijacked by governments who want to push ecology onto you because it's a control grid rather than a bottom-up grid, what I was trying to do. But like I said, I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. So I decided, historically, it seems like across time, stories inspire people.
That's true. They do, but we have to take responsibility for the governments that are in power because we, the people, elect them.
Yeah, but do we anymore?
I believe we do. I believe in democracy.
I do too, but I look back at some of the elections that have gone on, not just here in the Western world, but around the world, and it seems like they are using these electronic systems to select rather than elect. So that's a whole other thing. And see, that's another reason where I would rather not be attached to an identity, name, and address, because there's people that will go to blows with you over these kind of arguments.
Whatever happened to freedom of speech?
Exactly. It's under attack.
Well, and I think that the internet has been a big reason for that, because there's so much fake news out there. Anybody can say whatever they want without any repercussions, and somebody's got to start holding all these fake news broadcasters and all these people who are so negative on the internet, hold them responsible for what they're doing and saying. I believe in free speech, but I don't believe in slandering people or putting up fake news.
Oh yeah, crime is, if there's a victim, there's a crime. But without freedom of speech and freedom of thought, then historically speaking, the next thing, once you limit speech beyond there being like any kind of physical crime or violence, then historically we move to what happens next is violence. Humans seem to move to violence as soon as you cut off freedom of speech.
Well, we've seen freedom of speech explode in certain circumstances over the past couple of years. For example, the different movements on the internet, they've brought violence instead of using the freedom of speech for peaceful purposes.
Yeah, and see, in that case, there's been a crime committed,
right,
and there's a victim. Then then there's a crime. If
right.
speech leads to a crime, then it should be prosecuted. Absolutely okay with that.
So
but just having
an
expression and like being, having for example, a YouTube channel where you are limited, or all kinds of big tech corporations have shut down people just for their point of view on any given subject. That's censorship.
Well, yes, and they have the right to do that.
Only if there's been a crime committed. Not thought crime is Orwellian, thought crime. No, if there's no victim for having a thought, there's no crime.
Well, first of all, YouTube's a private company. They can do what they want. They can make the rules and change them at will.
And they do. And
yeah.
That's why I'm starting a new show called Dead Man Talking, where I'm going to cover, just the news of the day, philosophy, parapsychology, the paranormal, from the point of view of a person who's been met with death.
Okay, but once again,
go on Rumble for feel of the ever-changing rules on YouTube, where you use their platform, you build a platform, and the cancel culture decides that, okay, today we don't like you saying this about this, that, or the other, be it the jab or what have you.
But don't you agree that there has to be some responsibility of the people who actually use these different platforms? And it is the right of the platform, because when you agree to post anything on these platforms, whether it's Rumble or whether it's YouTube, you agree to abide by their terms and conditions.
Yeah. And so far, Rumble, BitChute, those other platforms seem to have more freedom than YouTube does. But even MailChimp was censoring, big, people with big website presences have a big footprint on the internet because of, political reasons. They weren't committing a crime, causing any harm, just having a particular stance about, getting the shot masquerading as a vaccine, that whole thing. You couldn't talk about it. That's limiting speech. That's dangerous.
But they have that right because you're using their platform.
Well, yeah, that's partially why I spent the day, buying more gear to be my own platform. I've been creating websites since the 90s, and you can be your own platform. It does take work.
Of course it does. And that's why so many people...
The only way to be truly free.
And that's why the internet is inundated with all these wannabes on YouTube, Rumble, and all the other audio and video platforms. Right?
And, people have, see, that's the thing, is people have to learn to, look at source material and be like, and, you have to be able to do a certain amount of research to know if you're being, fed BS. People often just listen and take in and believe whatever they're told.
I agree. I agree, and there are a number of people out there who use the internet deliberately to take these people who believe
Yeah.
in everything they hear for nefarious and criminal purposes.
Yeah, and a lot of those people are people who often work behind the scenes with the three-letter agencies. Like in the 70s with the Church Commission hearings where, it was discovered that, our CIA was, had people involved with all of the major broadcasting systems.
Yeah.
And that's not stopped. And that's a form of propaganda.
I don't know about that.
Look into the Church Committee hearings. That happened in the 70s.
Well, from what I've seen, committee hearings are useless. Look at the committee here, the congressional hearing on the UFOs. What the heck came out of that? Nothing.
Yeah, that subject, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think that's largely concealed because military reasons. I think certain militaries don't want the other side to know what they've got.
I agree with you.
Whether that technology was obtained from extraterrestrial or terrestrial sources, like, Tesla's work.
Yeah.
Who knows? There's a lot of people that think he had anti-gravity, in the 40s.
Speculation is great. Conspiracy theories abound in today's world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But how do you get to the truth when you've got the congressional hearing? Let's go back to the UFO one. They had the three whistleblowers there. Every time there was a sense, any time they were asked a specific question, they say, well, we can't discuss it in public. Well, why the heck did you go there in the first place?
Yeah, see, that's the citizens paying for these bureaucracies, and then they can't even get an answer from them. Yeah.
And I could actually see the frustration on a number of the congressmen and congress ladies that were sitting there. Like, what the heck, guys?
Me and you.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I watched it and I said, well, this was a waste of time.
Yeah. Absolutely. And money.
And money. Got about 30 seconds here. Do you think that there's a conspiracy to cover up the UFO scenario?
Yeah. Or some kind of ploy to use it for something else later.
Stand by. We've got to take our break. Exo Nation, our guest this hour is All of Us, or All Us. Us. The website is www.consciousconsumers.net. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and this is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on your hometown radio, Classic 1220. And we're streamed around the world at www.classic1220.ca. For the latest edition of the X Chronicles newspaper with our compliments, visit xchronicles.net. Wow. Are you a skeptic or a believer? Send me an email, xzone@xzone. Nope, that's the old email address. Let's try the new one. xzone@classic1220.ca. We'll be back. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. Us is my guest this hour. No, not me and everybody here. Us. You know?
Us. Oh,
us. And
so that is actually also an acronym, which I give away in the book in a proper riddle that I think the average reader will be able to get by meditating on it for a few moments. So what I tried to do with this book is take the real experience of my death and my dedication to go out and fight a war on war, which I realize is an idealistic high bar, but somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to be crazy enough to do it.
All right, so how are you going to do it?
Well, I chose to write a book in iambic pentameter for the attention span of current readers, or lack thereof. So it's in a 10 beat per line, 10-line rhyme scheme. So you should be able to open this. My intent is for you to be able to open this book at any page and get something out of it in each 10-line grab. It's about the length of an average Twitter post. So I'm writing from the point of view of the epic poets, Homer's Odyssey, the Epic of Gilgamesh, Dante's Inferno, Goethe's Faust, and the epic the poets of World War I. Some of the most graphic, horrific poetry came out of the trenches of World War I, which is, as you know, the first mechanized combination of air assault tanks and the horrors of chemical warfare. So I sought to write a fusion of all those epics for the 21st century and put us forth as this particle collider of all heroes of history, past, present, and future.
Okay, go ahead. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You got very quiet very fast. I wondered what happened. I thought maybe you were, abducted by the CIA or by aliens. I just don't know anymore.
You don't know anymore.
No, I don't. I really don't. I really don't. You never know what will happen in these days on this show. You talk about a biosphere. Is that how you look at planet Earth?
Yeah, it's how Thiers de Chardin looked at it. He was a environmentalist before environmentalism.
Why did you remove?
He called it the biosphere. That's where I got that from.
So why did you remove your latest or your last book, Apocalypse Near, from circulation?
It just wasn't having the impact I felt. And again, the attention span of readers, I felt like I could hit harder by doing a book in iambic pentameter, and in this, like I said, you can get something out of like any given few stanzas in this book, open at any point. But then again, it's also a 104,000 word story from start to finish. It's a paranormal romance, science fiction, like quite pulpy heavy book. If you like, sci-fi and things like that, it's in the Frank Herbert, Philip K. Dick tradition.
If by some chance you could be the person responsible for the ecology or the cleaning up and the enforcement of ecological rules, what would you do?
That's what I presented on my website, but then when I felt like I was failing to have the impact, I went to story form and did something that I feel like is taking those epic stories of history and putting it into marrying it with like modern hardcore pulpy sci-fi like Kurt Vonnegut and Shakespeare meets Dr. Seuss.
What was the singular most important message that you learned during your near-death experience when at the Akashic Records?
That's really why I had to write 104,000 words. It's so hard to describe the intensity of that feeling, of feeling like you are in the presence of the source of creation that is omniscient, knows you better than you know yourself.
Why do you think you were selected for this mission?
Boy, if I knew the answer to that one. I think, but that's the thing, is that's another reason why I want to detach myself from any personal identity. I think we are all selected for this mission. Because like you said, if we can't take care of each other, have that as the start, then we've already kind of lost.
But do we have to lose our identity to do that?
No, I'm just choosing to do that because, as my girlfriend says, you're probably being a little paranoid. And it's also for artistic reasons. I want to see what kind of effect this has. And also because I've been famous before. I was a touring musician for a while. I don't like the fame part. You know, I still go out. People know me that I don't know. I don't want to be known. It's a hassle.
But do you want to be an artist or a realist?
I think you can be an artist and a realist and not be known. Like I said, this is very much an art experiment what I'm doing.
An art
the protagonist
okay.
that I identify as also being my mission, and that is the soul collector can accomplish what he is trying to do in these stories in the real world. That's what I'm going to see if that's where the rubber meets the road. That's my experiment.
And how are you going to monitor this experiment? And what are you going to do with the results of this experiment?
Well, the results of this experiment would be to have people living in harmony with the biosphere and each other. Like I said, fighting and winning in the war on war is the protagonist's mission here.
Throughout history.
To eradicate war, not only in this realm, but like I said, this is also pulpy machine gun science fiction. So he's going to go move through inner multiverses and outer spaces and try to solve wars in those realms as well. So the collection of souls that meets in this place, it's hard to describe outside the context of the novel, but like I said, it's very pulpy quantum science fiction that has good pitted against evil across space and time.
Why would you write a book about it and use a character instead of just being yourself and get on the orange crate yourself?
I did that in the first one, and I don't feel like I got anywhere. Although I did win an award with the first one, but I look back at that book and read it to myself, and I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible.
But
it was also automatic writing, that process. Like I wrote that book within a few weeks.
And where was this information being channeled from?
That's what came from the downloads I feel like I received while I was dead. I can't give that. Trust me, I'm not that good of a writer. Like what's in this new one, and I'm giving out copies to reviewers right now, is I feel like now I got something to be proud of. But I don't feel like it's of myself. I feel like this is what New Agers would call channeled information, Akashic Records, Oversoul stuff. Maybe I took that back from the point where I was dead, because I still have moments in sleep or when I'm in between sleeping and waking where I'm back there in that light, and I wake up in my body. I'm like, damn it, I'm still here.
All right,
like that scene in Apocalypse Now where Martin Sheen says, Saigon. Shit. Oh,
yeah,
still in Saigon.
I remember that. Yeah. So when you come back after your near-death experience, you're on this quest. You die. This time, it's not a near-death experience, it's death. What do you think happens at that time?
We are released from call it the meat suit if you want.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I call it. Like I want to get out of my meat suit. We're in a pure soul-traveling, energetic form. I call it like moving at the speed of thought, which is something that Us is able to do in the books. He's got paranormal powers.
Yeah, okay, but I want to talk about you, not your book. I want to talk to you about your thoughts, how you feel.
I feel like I said, Us, the protagonist, the pseudonym is me. Like he is doing what I was trying to do in the real world, but I novelized it to write a popular novel to try to get through to people like where they kind of live. People like stories. They like to go to the movies and, watch, a Marvel adventure or like They used to enjoy reading really pulpy Philip K. Dick sci-fi, but people don't read anymore. Which is why I tried to break up this book into like Twitter, like machine gun bursts of like thoughts.
So my question to you is, if
like
people
sitting and reading a whole book, you could just open up to any.
Yeah, my question to you is, if people don't read anymore, why did you write a book?
Exactly. And that's why you start a show on the internet to be that character and see if you can get them to that space. So in my forthcoming vlog called Dead Man Talking, I'm going to be that character. So when I'm on camera, if we do have another show, I will Skype in and I'll be that character, Dead Man Talking, that I'm going to be. Like, 'cause in my vlog, you're not going to see my face. I have various costuming to become that character in his different realms of existence.
So how do you expect people to take you serious? It sounds like it's a Marvel comic cartoon.
You're going to have to, the only way you're going to be able to take this serious is if the writing really hits home. Like if it does work, like say like Walt Whitman or Shakespeare or my favorite World War I poet, Wilfred Owen, or Goethe, or any of the great. If it hits home enough for you to be moved so much where you're entrapped in it, like the suspension of belief when you go to that movie that you love. That's the only way that's going to be the success. If it doesn't hit home like that, yeah, it's a joke.
And if people take it as a joke, what are you going to do?
Do something else. You reinvent yourself. But no, I feel like I've been handed my hat. This is my life's mission. I mean, I've been doing this since 2004 in one form or another. Mm-hmm. I've been trying to solve the problem of warfare on the planet, trying to solve the macro aggressive problems on the planet. That's very idealistic, I know. That's what psychologists will call that a delusion of grandeur. But somebody's got to try.
I agree with you. So stand by. We've got to take our final break. Exo Nation, our guest this hour is us. The website is consciousconsumers.net. This is the Exo. I'm Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. Don't forget, you can listen to all the past shows of the X-Zone Radio Show just by going to our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. We'll be back as we wrap up this hour on the other side of the short break. Don't go away.
Listen to what I say. They're just talking without joining me day by day. Although anything is easily explained to you, there's no show my emotions are wrong to true. I'm neither acting nor changing personality.
How many of you out there have heard of alternative engines? Engines that can run on anything from alcohol to garbage or water. Or carburetors that can get hundreds of miles to the gallon. Or electric or magnetic engines that can practically run forever. You don't know about them because if they were to come into use, they'd put the oil companies out of business. The concept of the internal combustion engine has been obsolete for over 50 years. But because of the oil cartels and corrupt government regulation, we and the rest of the world have been forced to use gasoline for over 100 years. Big business is primarily responsible for destroying the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the food we eat. They have no care for the world they destroy, only for the money they make in the process. How many oil spills can we endure? Millions and millions of gallons of oil are now destroying the ocean and the many forms of life it supports. Among these is plankton, which supplies 60 to 90% of the Earth's oxygen. It supports the entire marine ecosystem, which forms the basis of our planet's food supply. But the plankton is dying. I thought, well, let's go to some remote state or country, anywhere on Earth. But in doing a little research, I realized that these people broker toxic waste all over the world. They basically control the legislation, and in fact, they control the law. The law says no company can be fined over $25,000 a day. If a company is making $10 million a day by dumping lethal toxic waste into the ocean, it's only good business to continue doing this. They influence the media so that they can control our minds. They've made it a crime to speak out for ourselves, and if we do so, we're called conspiracy nuts and we're laughed at. We're angry because we're all being chemically and genetically damaged, and we don't even realize it. Unfortunately, this will affect our children. We go to work each day, and right under our noses, we see our car and the car in front of us spewing noxious and poisonous gases that are all accumulative poisons. These poisons kill us slowly, even when we see no effect. How many of us would have believed if we were told 20 years ago that on a certain day we wouldn't be able to see 50 feet in front of us? That we wouldn't be able to take a deep breath because the air would be a mass of poisonous gas? That we wouldn't be able to drink out of our faucets, that we'd have to buy water out of bottles? The most common and God-given rights have been taken away from us. Unfortunately, the reality of our lives is so grim nobody wants to hear it. Now I've been asked what we can do. I think we need a responsible body of people that can actually represent us rather than big business. This body of people must not allow the introduction of anything into our environment that is not absolutely biodegradable or able to be chemically neutralized upon production. And finally, as long as there's profit to be made from the polluting of our earth, companies and individuals will continue to do what they want. We have to force these companies to operate safely and responsibly, with all our best interest in mind, so that when they don't, we can take back our resources and our hearts and our minds and do what's right.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. You're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. The clip I played when we came back to this segment was Steven Seagal from On Deadly Ground. And I guess he kind of has the same message you have. Are you there? Hello, Well, I wonder where our guest went. He's supposed to still be here. He's showing that he's still here. Craig, where did the guest go? These things happen here when you're doing live radio. But I wonder where he went. I was really enjoying the conversation. I thought he'd enjoy the clip we just played. Sometimes these things do happen. So tell me, X-Zone Nation, what do you think? How do you feel? Do you agree with our past guest? Or are you just kind of saying, well, you know what? I didn't create the mess. Why should I clean it up? But don't you agree that we're all part of the solution and we shouldn't be part of the problem?
We should absolutely be part of the solution. Yes.
Where were you?
I didn't hear you for a while there. I was hearing, I was hearing what sounded like a commercial.
That was a clip. That was a clip from Steven Seagal doing from his movie On Deadly Ground. And I thought that, it was kind of echoing what you were talking about. That's why I played it.
Yeah, my dad liked the movie.
Yeah. So in your opinion, how do we all get together? How do we all look at these problems? How do we take better care of ourselves in order to take better care of the biosphere that we are ruining?
It's hard to say in a world where most people, look at the obesity rates and things like that, have a very hard time even taking care of the ecosystem that is their own body. But I think the way to get through to that is by the spirit that is behind your voice right now, the you that is you, that animates Rob McConnell, is an individual coded into your DNA. You are an individual that animates a material body for the moments we're here. Here's the part where I usually say, when my girlfriends are around, but I could get hit by a bus any moment and I won't be here. And she'd say something like, don't put that in the world, that'll happen to you. I'm like, I don't believe that, Juju. But it's true. At any moment, any of us could be gone. You have to face that reality. Carlos Castaneda, he used to say every day you should turn around and acknowledge your death. It's just over your left shoulder, and that gives you more value for your life. And we have this responsibility to our life and all life, but we have to wake people up to that.
Do you fear death?
No, like I said, I've been there, and I was trying to hold on to the ground and not even get in the guard of the hospital. And now that I've been there, no.
So how do you convince?
I know we are temporary.
How do you convince people in today's society that, death is a natural process of life? In fact, the moment you're conceived is the moment you start to die.
Yes.
So how do we convince them that death is just a natural part of this existence that we're in?
That's been a centuries-long thing of philosophical inquiry. How many texts have been written about confronting death, and people, they're just so discomforted by it.
Yeah. Do you think that we who pass over will once again meet those who have pre-passed us in death?
I do, and I experience that on a semi-regular basis. Like, my grandfather came to me in a dream the other night.
Okay. So
I think that happens on a regular basis. I think they're always there because their energy forms embodied when you look at the DNA molecule, there's a coating there's light in there. We are energy. It's just that we think we are matter because this world convinces us of it. I mean, I just knocking on my wood on my desk. Like, that's there, right? No, that's just energy. There's more not there than what's there.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
I used to. Now, I hope it's not true. I don't want to be reincarnated. I want to go where I was when I was out of here, which, again, was pure energy moving at the speed of thought form.
The Akashic records are supposed to be where everything that has happened since the beginning of time are kept.
Yes.
Why is this information kept if we ourselves are living it? Why should that be such a thing where these records are held, maintained? And who are they being maintained for? And for whom are we entering all our living information into those files for?
All very interesting questions that we can speculate on. And I believe that they're there, but I have no tangible proof. But it feels like a great concept to explore with. And I make stories with it and from it, but is it really there? And who would be keeping them? Yes, there would have to be an oversoul or a capital G God or small g gods of some sort, right?
Yeah, there would be. There would have to be. Something like an Akashic record keeper.
Yeah.
There you go. Listen.
Or you could suppose angels, you could suppose aliens, all kinds of things.
We've got about 3 minutes before I have to say so long to you for this edition, Us. What are your final thoughts that you'd like to share with the X-Zone Nation tonight?
I think that we all do need to spend a little bit more time acknowledging that, our death is at any moment, so that we value the life all around us, take more responsibility to nurture and care for all of life, from the biogeochemical up to the human and everything in between.
Besides writing your book, how do you, as an individual in a meat suit on this planet, here today, what do you do to help this biosphere? That's
really what I put into these novels I'm writing. I got the first one done. I'll mail you a copy if you like.
Oh, I'd appreciate
'cause
that.
I've 4 more outlined after this.
So would you call yourself a New Age philosopher?
I don't want to, but I kind of do fit that category. I don't want to be a guru guy, but I guess in some ways I am. But I don't want to be that guy.
What do your friends and family think about the new us after his near-death experience?
They are just happy that I am not in the condition that medical science said I would be in.
I think
so they're encouraging, and they worry about me because I still do have some physical issues left over from the brain injury.
Yeah. Well,
but they're very supportive.
Well, I think that we're all very happy that you've made the progress that you have, and that we all wish that you continue to do what you do, because it's a unique way of looking at things. And I personally believe that we need new solutions to old problems, because the solutions we've used in the past just don't cut it.
Yeah. Or we're just not connecting with them, or it's this, I think we're the same old good versus evil story.
Yeah.
We're just in the middle of it.
Like I've said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And it's time that people get off their butts and start doing their part to help the greater majority with the solution of the problems.
All of us.
Yep, exactly. All of us. There you go. I want to thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Get well, continued success with your health and with your book, and I look forward to the next time we meet us here in the X Zone. Until then, take care of yourself. Thanks.
Rob, cheers to Ontario.
Take care, my friend. X Zone Nation, if you'd like to find out more about us, the collective us, visit consciousconsumers.net. Well, that's it for tonight, X Zone Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 11 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we're here Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. So until tomorrow night, my friends, always remember, take care of each other and keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. From everyone here at the X Zone to everyone out there in Radioland listening to us on Classic 1220, good night, everyone.